So, Dr.
Wait
Ch-
for that.
what?
Can't wait for okay.
We can edit it.
Yeah, that's what I said. We can edit all this. This is just recording. So, Dr. Chai, can you tell us how your life is different 1 year later here, how you're feeling about the anniversary of the derailment in your town?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I just had a shocking
I'm so sorry.
You're
Should
fine.
you edit it or do you want to ask me again?
So, Dr. Chai, it's 1 year since the anniversary of the train derailment in your town. Can you tell us how your life is different now and how you're feeling at this 1 year anniversary?
Life used to be a lot more carefree. I'm one of the ones that if I stay away from the creeks, then I'm fine. So I know people are still getting sick in town. I'm just a bit outside of town. What has happened is the added stress and worry about what's going to happen. We're actually moving. We're not going to stay there because I'm too close to the creek and the park to be comfortable on a private well. But every moment of my life is either talking to residents that are worried. There's messages all day and all night. And then of course my run for Congress, it's just, it's a whole different world. There's, currently I think I got like maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep last night. I'd be doing home repairs, doing things around the house. Before this all happened, I was rehabbing a vintage RV, and that's just sitting there. So just life is just put on hold for over a year now.
So, this prompted your run for Congress then?
It did. I'm not a politician. I know what I like in politics, and I know who I vote for, and I know what I think is wrong and what is right. But I didn't follow politics. Like if you asked me about a particular politician, what they were doing at the moment, I wouldn't know. Like a lot of people do know. But I think at one point, I think most East Palestine residents can relate to what I'm going to say. When you are up against a big corporation and you're up against the government, and it's just lies, and obviously they're lying about the when you can visibly see the contamination, but they're telling you it's not there, then it makes you wonder what else is there. But when you keep fighting and nothing ever happens, there's no ramifications to these companies, you kind of become like a zombie. You just kind of give up, like you're in a catatonic state. You get a little depressed, you lose some of your energy or your vigor. And I came home on one night after work. It was a busy night seeing patients, and it was a Wednesday night, I remember. And my wife was cooking dinner, and I walked in the kitchen, and she didn't even say hello. She said nothing, but she turned to me and said, "Hey, Rick, you need to run for Bill Johnson's seat." Bill Johnson is our rep here, our congressional rep, and he stepped down to take a position at YSU, a presidency. So I thought for just like 30 seconds. And here's how I describe it when I thought back. If you've seen the movie Shawshank Redemption, you see Andy Dufresne, he's carving his initials in the cell wall, and a little chunk of concrete, the failing concrete, falls out. And all of a sudden, he's just hit with this thought, I can get out of here. So I thought, hey, this is a way out for not only myself, but for the residents, and to just shove this shit down their throats, because when I win, I will not shut up about East Palestine. People outside of East Palestine in my district, I'm not a one-trick pony. I know how to get things done. In my 30s, I built one of the largest chiropractic offices in the nation. I'm a pretty good communicator. I can bring people together. And I will fight just as hard for the entire district as I will for East Palestine. All the exposing the lies, the corruption, the greed, and the local politicians and local people called us greedy because we're complaining about what happened to people and the people in the displaced home, like their homes, they're waiting for some big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I have always said it's the people that are picking on the people that have been hurt that are the ones expecting the big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because the entity that caused this entire mess is the one that's in charge of the cleanup. And they're very good at what they do. They dangle these gifts, $25 million park, fireworks displays, carnivals, all to sway public opinion while our land is still contaminated. So I pray to God nobody gets sick 5, 10 years from now. People are already getting sick. We don't know if it's from I believe that it is, but that's
I was just going to ask if you saw any kind of an uptick in illness just in general in the area here.
Well, two of my patients, one of them came down with a rare form of male breast cancer. And if you look at women that worked in factories where they're breathing in vinyl chloride, one of the most, you will see that it causes breast cancer. Did it cause his breast cancer? We don't know. We can't prove causation, and that's just what these stupid companies hope for. And then a second person that was never, the one convenience store, the bigger one, the more well-known one in town, they were evacuated when this happened initially. The police evacuated them. The one right across the street, the Marathon gas station, which the trains, over the years I said, man, I'd hate to work here because the train comes, I measured it, I think it's 36 inches from the building. And they fly through there and the whole building shakes. As the police were there, the woman came out of that convenience store and said, do I get evacuated too? They said, no, they didn't say anything. I mean, you evacuate the convenience store right across the street, but you don't evacuate the other one. So this woman breathed in vinyl chloride in the initial burn, and she just had constant vomiting. She got very sick, among other things. I can't remember all her symptoms, but she also had just had a double mastectomy for breast cancer. So I don't know of her ever having any major health problems. So we're going to see how much more comes up in the future if we have a higher ratio in our town of cancers and illness. It's a little too early to see, but we're already seeing a couple things that shock me.
Now, you mentioned that your home, you feel uncomfortable with your well being so close and all of that, even though you're not right directly on top of the ground zero site, so to speak. Now, you have this amazing practice here where you help all these different people. Are you planning on keeping your practice in town?
I'll keep my practice, yes. Yeah.
Okay,
But
so you're just moving a little
about
further
15
out.
I own a piece of land about 15 miles out of town. Every man-made theory seems to often, most theories seem to have chinks in their armor. When they say, well, the aquifer flows this way, I don't give a shit which way you tell me it flows. If you throw chemicals in an aquifer, I'm out of there. They say everything they say, and if they said everything they said was, I had nothing that was contradicted, then I might believe them more. But so many things they said here. No chemicals in the creek. Oh my God, chemicals in the creek. We'll send this robot dog through the tunnel. Oh, air's fine, water's fine there too. I go through the tunnel with military gear and there's chemicals coming all around my feet. I do blood work on people and it comes up with the vinyl chloride metabolites and benzene. Oh, maybe they pumped gas that day, maybe they cut up onions. So that test, they say, well, that's not a fail-safe test, it's iodide glycolic acid to see if somebody was exposed to vinyl chloride. That test was good enough for the Asian children that lived near a petrol plant, that they were coming up with a lot of illness. So when they showed high levels of that in their blood, in urine, they moved those kids out of that area and put them in a different elementary school away from those petrol plants. If that test was good enough to move those children out of their elementary schools, how all of a sudden is that test not good enough in East Palestine?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. As we talk about these things, I remember the first day I met you over
It was at Kayla's
at the fire company there. We were doing the donation distribution, and I remember you're like, "Who are you?"
I knew who you were.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I knew you worked with somebody business, yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you is like on a personal level. I mean, okay, so for me, I can observe from here. I remember certain things about you from a year ago. And looking at you today, I can see some of the physical effects that I can see in your face, your skin. What do you notice on a personal level? Do you have anything that you really notice that's like bothersome for you out of all of the symptoms that
Do
have
you
been
mean
going
physical
around?
ailments?
Yes.
No, I don't. And Now you're scaring me. You're saying you notice physical.
No,
So-
not. I mean, it's. I mean, I'm not saying like you're not physically fit or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that if I take a picture of you from last year and I take that picture and I put it side by side with this headshot of today, there are going to be some differences that I've noticed, and I've kind of noticed it with a lot of people that I've known in town. Sort of like it sounds terrible to say, but almost like a little bit more of an advanced aging from the stress.
Yeah.
You know, like a stressful kind of, you see it in your faces. I
Yeah.
can see it in the way some people carry themselves. So what I'm saying is do you feel that on a, like a
Here's what I
daily,
feel.
or do you kind of just, you know, all right, it's, you know, yeah, it was stressful in the beginning. Now I'm fired up. Like, how do you feel about being like abandoned by the government and being let down? Like, how does that affect you physically is kind of what I'm getting at. Like, how do you notice it?
Well, first of all, just let me say that I was seriously ill 3 times from those creeks where I had a welt on my body that had the consistency, if you've ever felt a jellyfish on the seashore, that was on my back showering, acid reflux. I don't take any medication. I don't take any type of drugs. I've never had acid reflux in my life, and this wasn't just what you would call heartburn. This was acids shooting up into my throat from breathing those chemicals in. Even after I started wearing the military gear in the creeks, anytime these water would splash on me, I have so many photos of rashes on my arms, and it had to be systemic as well because I would have rashes on my chest and neck where I wasn't getting wet from the water. But when I would stay away from the creeks, I would take a couple of times I took a 4 and a 6 week break. Then I felt fine on my property. My biggest fear is having the chemicals get in our well, and we're drinking those chemicals without knowing it. As for how I feel, what drives me is what is going on here, and I see a way out, and I push. My wife says on a given day, she said the other day, "Hey, you tired?" And I said, "Well, I'm exhausted every day. I just keep pushing." So the lack of sleep. My stress level is more of being pissed off and like a controlled anger, whereas a lot of people, you know, there's fear and I'm just angry, and you know, now that I'm working full time and running a campaign, there is no rest. I mean, a lot of times I get, for example, I went to bed at 2:30 the other night. I got up at 5, I think it was. So what's that, 2.5 hours of sleep? So more so of just for me, it's the pushing and exhaustion. But I'm okay. I mean, I probably look older because of it, but.
Well, again, you know, stress affects everybody differently, and I guess, you know, like I said, I'm sort of an objective outsider. You know, you guys are my neighbors. Obviously, I live on the east coast of Pennsylvania, and we're all the way here on the west coast, the line here between Pennsylvania and Ohio. And you know, this obviously affected several towns. So you know, being able to see it from an outside perspective, like I said, I've been watching you guys. I've been trying to follow you guys because this whole community is very special to me. I mean, we've all gotten to know each other
You've done
pretty
a lot.
well, and I love you guys to death, and I worry for you and I pray for you guys so much. But again, you know, when I see these things and I see, you know, like I've noticed there's a difference too in the demeanor. I don't know if you noticed that yourself, like in how people are very, very tired. They're just tired of fighting. They're feeling very defeated. Are you guys have you guys gotten any kind of relief here whatsoever? Other than like some small groups bringing in like water donations and things like that, have you guys gotten any relief from the government or anything to help out since we've been here last?
No, we haven't gotten one penny or one bottle of water from the government, from the federal government. I think you're aware. My wife and I we're pretty proud of, just like you. We were able to raise over $70,000 for the residents, and we're the only people that I know that every single penny went directly to the residents. You know, a lot of these, well, first of all, there was a big one that had fraud. That was the legislative advisor of my opponent, and he worked in his same office and his good friends. He took the money, so that was a big scandal. But of the other ones that were in town, townspeople don't know what happened to that money. I kept saying, you can't eat a park bench and you can't pay your rent with flowers. help the damn residents, and that's what we decided to do. As for the federal government, no, they put Norfolk in charge, and our stupid governor, and actually our local government too, and the federal government says Norfolk's doing a fine job.
Yeah, so it's basically zero accountability for anything that's happened. Then you guys are just kind of stuck in this awful loop.
They are cleaning the crash site. I still contend that the chemicals didn't say, oh, there's a big blue building. I don't like shade, so we're not going under there. I still say that that's highly contaminated up at the crash site. When there's fog or rain here and the town smells like an open can of paint, there's something wrong. So I'm not going to say they haven't cleaned some of the crash site, but I was watching Deborah Shore, the District 5, District 5 of the EPA that is in charge of our area. She was talking about yesterday, there was a special that came out on our town, and she was saying, I'm just going to make up numbers because I don't remember them. Norfolk has removed 5 million tons of dirt. They've removed, who knows, like 10 million gallons of contaminated water. That sounds like a great thing. To me, that sounds freaking scary. 10 million gallons or whatever that number was, it shocked me, of contaminated water.
Well, my question is when they remove it, where does it go?
Well, that's the problem. Coshocton, Ohio now refuses to take it. They've got a really good fishery, and they're just, here's the ironic part when you ask me that. Now these other states and also counties in Ohio are refusing to take this water that they're going to inject miles into the ground in injection wells, okay? They're refusing to take that, but now Norfolk says they're going to take that water and they're going to release it into our creeks. Are you aware of that?
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's the new.
I was not aware of that part.
That's new.
No.
So they had a town hall, a meeting in city council, and people are in there saying, well, what do you mean they're going to put, first of all, if you put that water that they're not even going to take and put miles, that people are refusing to put miles into the ground, and you're going to release it into our creeks, first of all, who's doing the testing? Who makes the standards? What are you putting into our creeks? Are you responsible for Negley, Ohio, and all the places down south that we're polluting them now? And you know what their answer was? Well, you know how much you're going to save on your water bill. Because when they release that into the creeks, they're going to pay us, and we're going to put that towards saving on your water bill as well.
But wasn't the idea to remove the chemicals from the ground to begin with? So now you're going to remove them from the ground to put them back in the ground.
They built a makeshift water treatment plant, which there were rumors from the very beginning that was coming. Norfolk, no, don't be ridiculous. You conspiracy theorists, that's never going to happen. Every little conspiracy theory that the most outlandish thing that people would say in town, we've all seen them. Now they're building, or they've built a water treatment plant that say that they're going to take that contaminated water down to safe levels, and they're going to release it into our creeks.
Wow. So that has to be very, very concerning just on other levels, I'm sure, for people that are even further out than just these towns. Because,
oh, absolutely.
I mean, so do you know how far that water treatment facility, this makeshift one you're talking about, do you know how big of an area that covers? Or?
No, they're treating the contaminated water. So my guess is, those big 2 Shamu tanks and the 6 tanks that are, they'll treat that water, then they'll release it into the creeks.
Wow. So just think about that for a second, guys. These guys have had zero help. They're telling us that Norfolk Southern is left in charge. That's what you're saying, right? So what would you, if you could have something at this point, if you could have a remedy of some sorts for your town, for everybody, if you could come up with something that you think might be like a restitution of some sort, do you know what I'm saying? What would that be to you? What would that look like to you?
So a restitution, I didn't even think of that word before, but here's the word I just thought of when you thought of that, or you said that. More of a reckoning. How about a reckoning? When the first wave of press came into town, we thought we were going to get help. The whole world's going to be on us, eyes are going to be on us, and nothing happened. People of East Palestine in District 6, I am asking you not to be fooled. The only way we're going to have a reckoning is to get my ass into Washington, because I won't frickin' shut up. I'll fight for the whole of District 6. Listen, like Star Wars, Obi-Wan, I'm not saying I'm on Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I don't see anybody else running for Congress from our town, so I'm your only choice. I am the only chance to get power. Now, everybody helping, that's fantastic. But to get somebody in Congress that's gonna fight and just reveal this frickin' corruption here, that's one of our only big chances of anything happening here. Because the anniversary, press comes into town, everybody gets excited. Let's do this again. Although there was less excitement this time because we've been screwed the first time and a lot of people didn't even want to talk to press. Our only chance is to get me elected and get my ass in there, and I will, frickin' heads are gonna roll. And they're gonna pay everything back for making me look like shit now, apparently, according to you, right? Because I look like shit.
I didn't say you look like shit. I did not say that. I did not say that.
Okay.
I actually have a great respect for you and for everything that you've done. I have watched you go play in those creeks, and I have to tell you, it's scary to watch because I know when I played in the creek, I left here with an eye infection.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole eye blew up, and I was so scared. I thought I was going to lose the vision in my eye. And I remember that so profoundly, and how I, every time I come here, I get sick for days when I leave. Even coming into town, I didn't smell it this time. I got little whiffs here and there, but I noticed around the outsides of my lips were burning, my knuckles were starting to burn. So I noticed little things just, again, like having not been here for a while and coming back. And I'm curious to see how my body handles it this time, because obviously you do build some resistance, I think, to this, unfortunately, and that's a terrible way to put it.
And they have removed a lot of chemicals. They have, so it's not as strong when it does rain or like foggy. But even this weekend, when the longer you're here and you're in the middle of town, the more you're going to be affected. There were several media personnel that got nosebleeds when they were here. And when you mentioned the eye infection, I forgot. I don't get acne, but when I was going in the creeks, I would get, you'd almost call them boils. Like I have pictures of like these
I was just so scared for you when you were in it, even with all that hazmat gear. And, I pray for you guys a lot because what you're doing is fantastic. The people need a voice, and it is amazing to see somebody like you standing up and saying, listen, I'm not going to be silenced. I'm not going to back down. You have a resilience that is just absolutely admirable. And I think it's important that, nobody is forgotten here in these towns. And I really hope that, we can help get you, at least some voice for these guys, get you in that position where you can help these folks out. We hope to be able to help you, your fellow townsmen and stuff here. We are working on that donation drive so we can bring some of those basics in, because I know you guys in this area, this is not a very rich area. It's a nice rural little town, and I know that a lot of expenses, you guys have all those extra filters and things that people have been buying for their homes, and those are huge expenses. So, we're hoping to help you guys out and hoping to show America that, we as Americans, as countrymen, we can unite and we can be heard and we can be a voice and we can stand up for the little guy. And I appreciate you very much for standing up for the little guy.
Thank you. And we did this in reverse because months ago I asked to interview you, and
I
never,
know.
just because of time constraints and whatever, it never happened.
know.
So you're actually interviewing me. So hopefully you come back in town someday. We can switch it around.
Well, I'll be here on the 23rd.
March
Okay.
23rd.
That's it, yeah.
And we'll be celebrating my win of the primary.
Absolutely, absolutely. We hope to.
Okay. Well,